quick. Alright, so third league of the day. Playing some Sultai Murktide Shadow. Trying out a playset of Tarmogoyfs in here. Just off the single breeding pool. Just trying to add a secondary proactive threat that we can get down when we're not able to find a Shadow, find a Murktide in an aggressive manner. We've got some synergy for Tarmogoyf with like Street Wraith, Consider, things like that we can get into our graveyard proactively. Hopefully it'll give us another little body that we can close games out with, which has been a big issue with the deck, is just having something to get in front of like early Ragavans, help close out the games. So we are literally just splashing for Tarmogoyf, seeing how it goes. Card draw. Ledger Shredder does not give card draw. Ledger Shredder gives card selection. There's a draw in there, but there's a discard applied afterwards, so you're not netting positive card advantage. And you're doing it in a deck that is not proactively playing spells. You are an extraordinarily reactive deck with 4 Counterspell, 4 Archmage's Charm, 4 Drown in the Lock, or 3 Archmage's Charm, whatever, 4 Consider. You're not proactively playing 2 spells a turn. You're not Expressive Iteration. You're not Unholy Heat to clear the way. You're not Mishra's Bauble, Ragavan, anything like that. So you're relying almost exclusively on your opponent playing those 2 cards a turn. And if your opponent doesn't, which they don't have to, if you're just sitting there with a with your Ledger Shredder playing like the 2-for-1 reactive game, then Ledger Shredder turns into a 2-mana 1/3 that does nothing else. And that's extraordinarily subpar. So that is my argument against the card Ledger Shredder. Ew. So am I just like taking Grazer and countering the second Amulet? Because they're going to get the first Amulet down regardless. Can't do anything about that. But I could like take the Grazer, counter an Amulet, maybe like Archmage's Charm, steal the second Amulet. So yeah, that's kind of like my argument against Ledger Shredder and why I don't think it's just like some slam dunk card to throw in all of your blue-based decks in Modern. Is there's just a lot of times that it's not going to do what you want it to do. And when those times come along, you want a backup plan. And Ledger Shredder is not a good backup plan. Like, when it looks good, it looks great. No argument. I will never sit here and say Ledger Shredder is terrible in all situations, blah, 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 because I don't think that's the case. But I think there are a lot of cases where it is not good, and I would not advocate it for it. And I think there's a big issue with people just like aggressively saying you need Ledger Shredder in like every deck imaginable. The old Summoner's Pact. Okay. Pact for Azusa? Sure. So this is now turned into a race. So my focus needs to shift towards getting Shadow big enough to be able to rumble. So that means like finding fetch lands, finding things to do. My opponent's given me a turn off by having to pay for this Summoner's Pact. But I'm not going to be able to interact with a Titan profitably. So because I can't interact with the Titan profitably, do they just have the Titan? Obviously, I would much rather this be a Dryad than a Titan, but... Alright. So I know their last card in hand is Simic Growth Chamber. So let's start by attacking. So if they decide to like try to block with the Dryad, I can dismember. Or dismember the Azusa, grow the Shadow. And then I want my opponent to hit me with the Azusa. Because it brings me down to 6. Shadow grows to a 7/7, makes it a 2-turn clock. We are absolutely countering that. Counter with counter spell so that I can still kill something with a drown. Do they have any way of killing me there? Like, they've got 3 land drops. No. I was trying to figure out if there's a way they could, like, bounce the stronghold and activate it again. But... no. Fair enough. So I can Archmage's Charm, draw 2 into turn, drown in the lock, kills a Titan if they get one. Can't counter it, but can kill it once it hits the board. So Dress Downs are in, Spreading Seas are in. Stubborn Denial's out. Trim on some pushes. Something like that. I got one more spot. I'm just going to board out the 3rd Murktide because of like Bajuka Bog. It's not great. It's got a little potential. Thoughtseize, decent disruption. Fatal Push can take out some of the small dudes. Maybe Turok can come down late and like clear the board. Alright, so we're going to take... Oh, that's Explore. I'm going to take Summoner's Pact. Because I've got an answer to the Dryad and Fatal Push. But I want to take one of their ways to get an actual Titan. Like, ultimately, it takes a lot to get me to care about Dryad. But Titan is one that they can absolutely mess us up with very quickly. Urza's Saga. This might end up involving just like stealing a construct token. It's not my preferred route here, but Fountain Saga. Yep. Feel a little bad for not having an Overgrown Tomb in the deck, but at the same time, Overgrown Tomb would look really bad with Archmage's Charm here. That's a solid pickup. Get out of here. Alright. So, Slayer Stronghold Unknown. Slayer Stronghold Unknown, Unknown. Summoner's Pact. That's kind of an odd one after you just saw Spreading Seas. Because if I have Spreading Seas here, they just lose the game on the spot. Do I go for the fetch land? Fetch land is great. Spreading Seas wins me the game on the spot. Watery Grave is shock to 7. Take 3, maybe 4. Archmage's Charm myself to draw. I guess Watery Grave's not like that risky. Mainly because they do have to, like, sort of time walk themselves here. Alright, so do find the fetch land and the shadow. So we can go fetch. I guess I have to get... No, Basic Island's fine. Basic Island, Fatal Push, the Tireless Tracker. Drop a big Murktide. Say go. Hold up Counterspell, and then next turn we can play out Shadow or kick Turok or something. Depending on what we draw into. Yep. I think it's kind of like if they do nothing, I'm playing Shadow, holding up Counterspell another turn. Yeah. So definitely a Shadow Counterspell. Consider first. Maybe we find like Thoughtseize. Or just double Shadow. I'm going to be so mad if we end up like trophying this league, never casting Tarmogoyf. Yep. Currently swinging for 22, so you gotta have more than just a Radiant Fountain. Woo. Alright. One down. Just 4 more of those. We need some good leagues to build up the second account. Alright, what do we want round 2? We want Living End. Give us Living End. Yeah. Over here missing matches. Got a thank you note from a group we bought some food for. So I had to read that. Alright. We get to try out Tarmogoyf. I wonder if there's an argument for, like, maybe post-board, the games that we bring in Turok, maybe we want to take out Tarmogoyf. Just so we don't get into that disparity of the green versus black mana. All right. Start with Scalding Tarn. See what we're up against. Opponent looking up and down our hand like, what the hell's going on? Alright, so Black Cleave Cliffs, Thoughtseize, usually would denote Jund in years past. Could be a Rakdos variant this time. I think we're going to go ahead and get down Tarmogoyf. Wait, next turn we can like have Drown or Shadow Counter Spell or Archmage's Charm, whatever. The old Dothy Voidwalker. Alright, let's start with saying hey with Tarmogoyf. I guess I'm playing Shadow out here. Been crushing the diet recently, living on smoothies and chicken breasts. To pizza or not to pizza? It depends on the kind of pizza. Are you going to get like a reasonably healthy pizza option, or are you just like going all out and getting like the most over-the-top pizza option you can? So this is kind of funny. If they don't do anything else, since they put the second card for me in the graveyard. Or no, we used Drown. Dang. I forgot. Never mind. Scratch that. Live in New York, my man. The dank kind. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and consider. Put Drown Lock in the graveyard. No. No, I don't think I will. Buffalo chicken's the go-to. I mean, buffalo chicken's a fine option. Kind of hard to go wrong with it. There used to be a pizza place near where I lived that had like a barbecue pulled pork pizza. That was just the most amazing thing known to mankind. Wasn't muted, it just like froze for some reason. But appreciate y'all keeping up with it. Hiya. Glad to know chat cares enough to pay attention. Yeah, we're not going to allow that one. Is it working now, though? Because it's showing up on mine that it's working now, so I'm going to assume it is. But you never know with this newfangled technology nowadays. Here's a shadow. I probably just like accidentally bumped it some way. Total P Clover, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday so far. Appreciate you coming around and hanging out. Checking out some sweet Death Shadow action. Working but a little loud. Well, maybe that'll help. Like, I've given up completely on trying to adjust the volume for people, because if I turn it down, you got people that'll come in and say it's too quiet. If I turn it up, you got people that say it's too loud. Like, you're going to have to adjust it on your end. I know that's not the thing anybody ever wants to hear, but sometimes a couple people ruin it for the masses. See, Juan Galvar, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, please correct me. Thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday. As always, I got to do my one call to action every stream. If you're enjoying the stream, enjoying the content, commentary, whatever it is, feel free to hit the follow button. Doesn't cost you anything. Just lets you know whenever we go live, so you can come check it out. Borelio, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you as well are having an awesome Wednesday. But it's a great way to support the channel. Also, if you're ever wanting to see other leagues, nice little Thoughtseize bug there, you can hit exclamation YouTube in the chat or exclamation Twitter. If you ever need updates, if you want to see previous leagues of Shadow, it's got our YouTube channel. Maulo, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you are also having an awesome Wednesday. But the YouTube channel especially, let me pull it up real quick. We're trying to grow the YouTube channel. So if you come over here, we've got shadow content upon shadow content upon shadow content. Every variation under the sun that you could possibly want to see, from Grixis with different cards trying out, to 4-color popular lists that pop up, Jund, donation leads, got Esper and Blue Black and whatever on here. So if you're wanting to check it out, it's a great place to see some resources that you might not have thought about before. And we're trying my best to grow the YouTube channel. So anytime anybody follows there or subscribes to the YouTube channel, it's a great help. I think I'm just going to hang out this turn. It is slightly louder with a little distortion or something this time, though, as a heads up. Nice. Let me see if I can adjust the gain at all. Maybe that's a little bit better. We got a free counter spell there. That was sweet. Alright, so let's go ahead and fetch a little bit. There's not really a reason to shock since I can't play shadows now. So I can be slightly conservative. Just out here looking for more lands and Murktides and stuff like that. Alright, so I guess I have to interact with that. Salatarix coming in with the raid. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome everybody. For anybody hopping over, if it's your first time on the channel, my name's Michael, or Control Freak on Magic Online. Play a whole lot of Magic, especially a whole lot of Modern. Playing some Sultai Death Shadow right now. It's like the Dimir Murktide deck, splashing green for Goyf. Just seeing what's happening. So we're like second match of this league, I think. We won the first one. We're up a game over black-red mid-range. Things are happening. It's cool. A little bit less cool. See, Ziv Zion, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday. It does look lovely, doesn't it? Sounds terrible, I'm in. That's like the gist of this channel for the most part. Since everybody who just came over is pretty new, like, I play every kind of Death Shadow under the sun. If you can think of any wonky variant, I've played it on the channel probably multiple times. That's like my thing, is I love Death Shadow and Death Shadow variants. So if you ever want any sort of that content, you came to the right place. Where's the Murktide? It's somewhere in the deck. I promise you they're in there. I think I may have boarded one out. Maybe not. Nope, didn't. Yeah, they're in here. Heard it's hot in Legacy at the moment. I've heard that as well. Like, Ragavan gets banned and all of a sudden Murktide just skyrockets. But I don't think I'm going to fire off this Archmage's Charm. Like, I've got 2 counter spells here, 2 pieces of interaction. They have to deal with the Goyf or they die, so might as well just, like, tempo out a little bit. I don't want to Archmage's Charm on my main phase, like, miss the land drop and then just die. So your opponent beat this. You got it. Good talk. But here's the deck list for the people who are hopping in and curious about it. When I say literally just splashing green for Goyf because we decided why not, I 1000% mean just splash green for Goyf because we thought why not. Just wanted a secondary threat. Like, and I know I say like a lot, so y'all just got to deal with that. Since I'm like 20 sec... See, there it is again. Since I'm 20, 30 seconds early on the shill, I kind of gave my speech before everybody showed up. We've got a YouTube channel, if you're ever curious about Death Shadow content. And when I say Death Shadow content, I mean like Death Shadow content. Like, this is our thing. We're one-trick ponies and terrible at everything else. So if you ever wanted to see like any sort of Shadow content about literally any variation, here's the link in chat. Yeah, 2 lands, Thoughtseize, Goyf, stuff on the play. What more can you ask for? We did think about we are not running an Overgrown Tomb in this list. We did think about it, but I didn't really want to incorporate it, mainly for the fact that I don't want to take myself off being able to play Murktide plus Counterspell on turn 4. Alright, so their hand is pretty subpar. We'll just take the Stoneforge, so go. Take the 2-for-1. Ornithopter. Springleaf Drum. Shadow Spear? Shadow. No, no! You've wrecked my plan. Alright, do I want to... I think I just want to get down Goyf. Be mana efficient. I can like race against a shadow spear, especially if they keep playing out everything that they're drawing into. That's pretty sweet. You got it. That's a good draw. That means that I can bop in with Tarmogoyf, play Shadow, and now I've got Fatal Push up plus pay for Esper Sentinel. So if they want to go like re-equip Shadow Spear, then they might not have a second play to make, and we can just like fight over something. We'll see. Yeah, you got it. And if they do nothing and pass, I think I'm just fatal pushing this Esper Sentinel. Like I said, I think I can race the Ornithopter very well. So we're just going to like stop the draw, get a dude off the ground, grow the Tarmogoyf. And then this might take like a couple extra turns. I could cycle and try to grow Shadow, blah, blah, blah. But I think I just like don't need to. I think I'm just opening myself up to unnecessary ways to die if I lower my life total too aggressively. Like if they find Urza's Saga and they're able to chump block for a turn or two with Ornithopter, Ink Moth, Construct Token, then I might just put myself in a position where I'm like dead to a Saga token, and I didn't need to be. Alright. Stuff. And for anybody who's here for the first time, which is like the vast majority of y'all, thank you so much for anybody that's sticking around, and anybody that just like stopped in for a second. This is like the maybe pile. It's stuff I want to look at and consider bringing in. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to, but it's a good part or good space to like line up what you're boarding or thinking about boarding in versus what you know you're bringing out to see how it pairs up. Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out. Mike's a Chungus, but his stream's not bad. You're not wrong. Mostly on the Chungus part, but I appreciate the full sentiment. So, two more. I could consider like not bringing in Turok or Spreading Seas. I think, however, I'm just gonna... I do like Stubborn Denial. It's not great, but it's not bad. On the draw, I think I'm just going to bring in the second Turok on the draw. But, yeah, I try to make the stream a very inviting place for anybody that wants to come in and hang out. We don't only talk about Death Shadow. It's just like a significant part of the conversation. But anybody who's been in here before will tell you my entire reason for being on the stream is just like I want to give thoughts and try stuff out and get feedback. So we're a very experimental stream when it comes to testing modern decks. Like, I don't have a very big desire to... I'll play in challenges. We've played plenty in the past. We'll play plenty more in the future. But for the most part, my passion lies with, like, trying stuff out. I kind of founded the channel because I got really tired of hearing arguments from people that just said, like, oh, matchup X, Y, Z is easy. You just, like, thought seize them and play out your shadow and battle rage them and kill them. Like, what's the problem, Fivehead? And it's like, okay, that's a really cool idea, but what about when it doesn't work out that way? What about when something changes and the plan doesn't go perfectly? And I wanted to kind of bring the stream to life to emphasize that point. Like, here, let's show realistic games of Magic. Let's show what happens when it doesn't go perfectly. So somewhere we've got like a big spreadsheet of win-loss percentages and stuff like that. Need to get better about updating it, but that's beside the point. Pretty damn good. Thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday. And I try to be very supportive of chat. Like, I try to answer as many questions as I can get, even if it's the same one about Ledger Shredder over and over and over again. That's about the gist of it. So if you got any questions, comments, anything you want to know, drop it into chat, please. All ears. Yeah, we have a command for Ledger Shredder and Tainted Indulgence because we got asked questions about those so much. We'll wait on this Archmage's Charm, see if they like make another construct here. Didn't know Indulgence had one? Yeah, if you go exclamation Indulgence, right there. It's literally the exact same thing, copy and pasted, and then anywhere it said Ledger Shredder, it's replaced with Indulgence. Just straight up, because I just didn't know what else to put, really. I think I'm going to Archmage's Charm, steal this construct. My construct. There's also a fantastic My Goyf command, if you're curious about that one. That's one of my favorites that I think Steven put together. I'll take a Drown in the Lock. Alright, so I want to make sure I'm not doing anything to put myself unnecessarily dead to anything. So I'm going to attack with Tarmogoyf and just pass with Drown in the Lock. So if my opponent plays a, what's it called? The 2-mana dude, Pure Steel Paladin, I can just counter that instead of trying to fight over it after it's resolved and like started moving hammers and stuff. No, we'll take 2. Hopefully get to like Stubborn Denial something. Or Drown and Lock something. Like blue. I'm guessing this is just mono white. So I haven't seen any fetch lands. I've just seen the snow-covered plains. Alright, so Misty right here is actually really, really good. Because now I get to Thoughtseize, play out Murktide, and hold up Stubborn Denial. So let's go attack with Tarmogoyf. And again, I'm keeping the construct token back in case like Pure Steel Paladin equipped to construct or something, I can just chump block. What do we got? We have 5 cards in hand, which is slightly terrifying. But if we see that they've just got nothing, there's also a reasonable chance that we can just pass like we are, not play out the Murktide. Or maybe they have a bunch of spells or something. I don't think I'm going to fight over this. So I know I've got the Murktide coming down afterwards. Alright, so they do have the Pure Steel Paladin, so we're taking that. Getting down the Murktide off just a basic island. Making him large and in charge. So there you go. And now we know Sigarda's Aid, Nettle Cyst, Silent Clearing, Unknown. I'm going to let the Sigarda's Aid resolve. I'll counter the Nettle Cyst and just take that if their last card is exactly a hammer, I'm dead. I think that's like my... I guess I'm not dead because they can't animate the Ink Moth and attach the hammer. So never mind, we're good. Right call. Well, it wasn't exactly a hammer. All right. What are the odds that they don't play around Stubborn Denial? Apparently 100%. Chow. We call that ball game. Whoa. Little 3-0-6-0. Let's move on to round number 4. See what happens. I also have to give the heads up for all the new people. We've got... I decided I was going to start a new Magic Online account so I could add TTV at the end of Control Freak because, you know, I'm going to be that corporate sellout. We actually have a command about it and everything. And so I got to start off this new account. I need to get play points for it. So any winnings we get are going to be going to that. So normally we have like a point redemption for opening up chests and stuff like that at the end of leagues, or for challenges to gift subs from me to people in the chat that win like a 1v1 challenge for a sub. And I've got to put that all on suspend for just like a little bit while we build up play points in the other channel. But as soon as we like get the other one up and running, like a few hundred play points, we'll be back up and going with like the chest opening redemptions and the 1v1 sub redemptions and all that. So I promise it's not permanent. Let's see, Tuxedo T, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday. Ooh, we'll keep it. Can you trade cards to the new account? You can trade cards and like chests and stuff, but you cannot trade play points. So let's cycle a raid, see if we can find like a Thoughtseize or a Fatal Push. which we do not. So we're just going to make our opponent think we're on Living In for a second. Played this guy twice. He played Murktide both times. Could be on Murktide. Could not. Like, I don't like assuming my opponent's on anything. For anybody, I say anybody, like all the people who are here for the first time and haven't heard any of my 75,000 spiels before, some of my big pet peeve isn't the right word for it. Some of my big opinions when it comes to Magic are things like, I don't like assuming that my opponent is on any specific deck because I think it makes you play biased, and I think that doesn't translate well to like large tournaments, large events, stuff like that. And that's the same reason I usually just treat every match like I'm going in blind, even if it's somebody where I'm 1,000% sure I know what they are. Like, doesn't matter. Treating it like we're going in blind. I think I'm just gonna kill this, let him draw a card. But I think it's really good for developing that mindset, like when you go into a tournament or something, of, hey, I don't know what my opponent's on. And I'm going to treat every new round I go into as if I don't know what my opponent's on. Yeah, it absolutely can happen in a tournament, and you'll start developing like when it's right or wrong to go into it with that mindset, and that's completely fine and reasonable. I just approach it the way I approach it because I think that it makes me more confident going into like those blind games where I don't know what my opponent's on. Alright, what's my plan here? Guess I'm just drowning this. Unless it's open deck list, but most tournaments aren't. Sure. Yeah, if it's open deck list, you obviously know what your opponent's on, and there's not really anything they can do to change that. But if it's not open deck list, then I like being able to go into a blind round one or something, like feeling like I'm pretty confident at playing in those blind situations. Alright, so let's see what happens here. See if they make another construct or something. I also feel like Magic players just kind of use every advantage they can get, so it's kind of a slippery slope in the sense, like, why shouldn't I also? And that's fair. Like, there's definitely a lot of times where you get into a big tournament, especially on Magic Online, where you have to deal with, like, people stream sniping or people getting some sort of an unfair advantage, something like that. So they could have just tapped their construct to like float a mana, but chose not to. So my best draw here would be Murktide or Shadow, Goyf. This will keep an Archmage's Charm. So one of the matchups that this deck is pretty weak to is anything with early, really aggressive starts. Because you're kind of relying on like 4 Fatal Push and a Dismember is basically your only ways of interacting early. And if that doesn't work out, kind of up shit's creek. So, for example, an opponent starting off Esper Sentinel into Esper Sentinel, double Urza Saga, double Stoneforge Mystic. Not going to be a great way to fight. Plus a Giver. Okay. So I could take the Giver, play the Goyf. They got Hammer. Sorry. Like, I kind of have to fight over a, what's it called? Sigarda's Aid. But with Urza's Saga and everything else, this is going to be pretty dicey. I really needed to draw that Murktide Regent like last turn, so I might be able to like cheese out a win flying in, but we'll see. We shall see. It's very much been duplicates of everything so far, and that'll make this matchup really, really rough. Yeah, can't let the Paladin resolve. Do you have another Paladin? I just have... Alright, like, that is a good example of a hand you're just never beating. Like the double Esper Sentinel into double Stoneforge into double Equip. And that's fine. It's fine to have hands that you just aren't beating out of some of these decks. Know the undefeated in games. That's fine. We got some stuff to bring in. Pin, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having an awesome Wednesday so far. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out. And I gotta remember to do that call to action as well. So for anybody who streams out there or anybody who's thinking about getting into streaming, whatever, call to actions are ridiculously important, even if they are pretty annoying for the people that are just like hanging out listening. It's just that moment of saying like, hey, if you're enjoying the channel, if you're wanting to check it out in the future, if you want to see what's going on, feel free to hit the follow button. Doesn't cost you anything, just lets you know whenever we go live, so you can come check it out. That's it. That's the call to action. Like, if you want to come hang out and be active in chat, you're more than welcome to. If you want to come hang out and lurk, you're more than welcome to. Does not bother me one way or the other. But if you are enjoying it and you want to hit the follow button, it does help the metrics. Make sure we get to keep going live, keep having some action-packed chats. But that's it. That's my entire call to action. Very, very, very formal, I know. Still learning that, but have been taking a 4-month break to regroup. So up until, what month is it? July? Up until like April or so, I had taken like a 6-7 month break from streaming. Maybe even a little bit longer than that. Like, I enjoyed Magic, but just got super, super burnt out when Modern Horizons 2 first really dropped. So I kind of took a step back, regrouped, and now I've been taking like a much more relaxed approach to it. I don't feel like I have to go out there and 5-0 every league or whatnot. Alright. I hate giving them a redraw here, but I hate playing out like a Tarmogoyf or something with dudes on board even more. But yeah, it's just like if you're feeling burnt out, don't force yourself to stream. If you want to take a break, take a break. And I was very fortunate to come back off my little hiatus and have like a very supportive chat. After the kids leave to go back to their mom, going to start up again. There you go. Have a plan. Have a plan, enact on that plan. Hit your opponent in the face with a Tarmogoyf. Yeah, so the last league was with Sultai with like Grim Flayers and stuff. This league is Sultai with Murktide Regents and counter spells and Archmage's Charms and all that jazz. I think I'm just going to counter this. Like, if they follow this up with a Stoneforge Mystic, I still get to untap and Thoughtseize. So it's not like the worst place in the world. How's the list feel so far? How does this list feel so far? Tarmogoyf's probably about the most unnecessary part of the deck. Obviously, there's situations like right here where just being able to hit your opponent in the face with a 4-5 is pretty decent. But for the most part, Tarmogoyf is just kind of like a body that messes up the mana a little bit. I think I want to dress down just to like grow Tarmogoyf, get the land maybe. Doing it during my opponent's second main phase. Sure. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, doing it during my opponent's second main phase to not shrink the Goyf during my turn. Alright. We have land. I'm just thought seizing. So they've got a hammer. Got a reality chip. So if I don't take Hammer, I'm just dead to Ink Moth. So let's take that. Pass. You think just Dimir Death Shadow would be better? So Dimir's what we've been playing, but it runs into a really big issue of not having a good enough threat density. And then a lot of games you run into, you just like don't have anything active to do in the early turns of the game. And Goyf gives you a little bit of a speed bump there. Alright, so let's cast a Shadow. Trying to bait the mana leak here. So now we can get an island, play the Murktide. 2, 3, 4. There's a Murktide. Say go. Medium buffalo chicken pie to the face headed my way. Nice. But like, Dimir's better at what Dimir's trying to do, which is get through the first like 2 turns of the game on just hope and prayer, and maybe your opponent doesn't overwhelm you, and then just like counter-spelling them out the rest of the way. Dimir does that very well. The problem is when your opponent has like a turn 1 Ragavan, you've only got like 5 ways of interacting with that in your deck. So, can be tough. Sounds like Grixis is still the best. Then with Ragavan, DRC, and blue for counters, it's still very good. I don't know if I would say it's the best or the worst or what, but it is very, very solid. Alright, so let's go for lethal here. We know opponent's got a reality chip and an unknown. So the hope here is they fire up Ink Moth Nexus. We point a removal spell at it. We'll pay for the Esper Sentinel because I don't want to give them like a free, hey, found a way out of it. But we're definitely all in on like trying to kill our opponent this turn. So if they did have something, say a blacksmith skill, like I'm fetching and shocking and dismembering and realizing I'm dead on the crackback, like we're going all in on this Murktide. But back to the best variation argument. Grixis is probably the most consistent just in terms of like, I want to get down a threat on turn 1. I want to have some sort of disruption, whether it be removal, hand disruption, counterspell on turn 2, and then try to hit like hand filtering and sculpting my hand from like turn 3 on. Grixis is the best at that, and there's very, very little you can do to argue that point. But as with all decks, there's a but. Like, Grixis does have a rougher time against things that require or things that have access to like a lot of cheap removal, like the Murktide decks and things like that. It does have a difficult time against decks that are able to go a little bit bigger, quicker. So like Eldrazi Tron. And then it's got difficulty against things that are really good at the 1-for-1 game. So like the 4-color pile decks, like black-green Yawgmoth, those sorts of decks. So it does have limitations. And some of the variations we play are like better and worse than some of those matchups, so... Alright, turn 1 Sigardazade's terrifying. The hope is just that we get to, like, untap, get down to threat here. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. Like... Gain might be a bit high on the mic. Well, there's not a lot of ways to turn this one down. I can turn it down a little bit, but like always, or kind of like I mentioned earlier, we usually run into the issue of as soon as I turn the mic down, somebody else is complaining about it being too low. I turn it up, somebody's complaining about it being too high. So I kind of just have to go with it. But I can try to make small adjustments. Alright, so we've got a reality chipped up Sentinel. Mike might just be too close. Well, I mean, it's like that distance. It's good. 10 inches. It's not close at all. I mean, could be like the filter on it. Try it without the filter, see what happens. Could be the fan in the background because it's like 200 degrees in central Mississippi. Could be me tapping obsessively on the desk, trying to figure out what we're going to do to get out of this current predicament. Really need to find like a drown in the lock here. 110 there in Texas. It's only like 96, 97 here. Something like that. 95. So I'm just being dramatic for the most part. But alright, so now the question is, does my opponent have the trample thing, that one? Do they have that one? And they have a second hammer, don't they? Pretty sure they have a second hammer. Huh. Do we have any outs? I guess I'm doing this now. I'm pretty sure they have a second hammer, though. So I think they got one off Stoneforge. But yeah, doing it now to play around skill. Or they just have that. That works too. Some matches you were just not meant to win. Like that game, one hand out of them was... Ooh. Oh, and since all of y'all are here on the first day, the grand opening, if you will, we've got a new Discord server where we basically just have a spot to talk about like everything Death Shadow. So I'm dropping an invite to that in chat. Literally anybody's invited if they want to join in. Don't feel like you're pressured to it, but it's completely open to everybody. Mike's great now. Nice. I'm guessing it was the pop filter. That's the only thing that I've changed up. But maybe it was just causing a little bit of like staticky sound or something. Change when I move the cable? Maybe? I don't consider myself to be the tech guru, so I rely on y'all. But yeah, the Discord's just going to be like a place for anybody to talk about anything, whether it be like Shadow related or anything else. It's there. It's an option. You have access to it. I'm going to bend the Dismember. I'd rather find another land. Land. Probably the worst one, but one step at a time. Have I tried Esper recently? We played Esper three or 4 days ago. Esper Shadow Blade. Just like shadows and stone forges and stone forge package and all that good stuff. Pretty fun. Whether it was good or not, I don't know, but the idea was fun. We tested it out. It was different. All right, opponent's got a pretty good hand. Ugh. I'm gonna bank on them not finding the land here. If they brick on the land this turn, we can Thoughtseize the Urza next turn. Alright. How much is this to re-equip? 2. Alright, so that's pretty good too. Now we can Thoughtseize and play out the Murktide. Huh. Alright. Banking on him missing the land again. 3, 4, 5. Big bucks, no lands. Big bucks, no land. Big bucks, no land. Ranger Captain seems good, though, with all the Cascade decks going around. So the problem is Ranger Captain's too slow against the Cascade decks. Like, you play out a Ranger Captain on turn 3 after your opponent's already cascaded. Like, it's really good on the play, but you don't want a card like that that's good 50% of the time, right? Because that means that 50% of the time it's going to be terrible. Alright, better in the sideboard than, maybe, but then you get into the argument of like, okay, it's better in the sideboard, but only on the play, because again, you don't want it on the draw, because it's just too slow. And if you're not playing it on turn 3, then what's it going to do in your deck? Alright, another Ornithopter is fine. Am I just stealing this Ornithopter? Or am I just taking this hit? Let's take this hit. Then we can fetch and shock. So we take this, we go to 4. We fetch and shock down to 1. That means Shadow is in Abyss mode. So we can attack with Shadow and just hold back Murktide. They've only got 2 things it can swing through. Archmage's Charm is going to steal something end of turn, more than likely, to give us another chump blocker. So yeah, let's go Watery Grave. Because if I draw a second Fatal Push or Drown in the Lock, I want to be able to cast it. I don't really care about Tarmogoyf. We will yoink this Ornithopter. Fatal Push this Ornithopter, and we have lethal in the air. Sweet. Good stuff. Good stuff. Alright. Good old Affinity, eh? So, Mystical Dispute's really good. Hurkyl's Recall is fantastic. Dress Down's good for Urza's Saga. Kind of the same thing with Spreading Seas. Nice Death by Ornithopter. Who's the Affinity deck now? Who's really strapping up like hats on Ornithopters? I believe it's us. Alright. Drown in the Lock's not too great. Stubborn Denial's pretty meh. It's like good against Thoughtcast, but then if they just have a Thought Monitor Urza hand, Stubborn Denial looks really bad. But it is good against countering opposing counter spells. Go like this. I think I've had the Hurkyl's Recall in here for like 2 weeks. I was literally about to say I think I've had this card in the deck for 2 weeks and never seen it in any of the Affinity matches we've run into. So I just like don't know if the card's actually good or not. Snare Prototype. Alright, so we're going to Fatal Push the Ornithopter. Hurkyl's plus Chalice on zeros, GG. I could see that. I could also see EE on 1 being pretty decent here. So I think I'm just going to go like Waterlogged Grove Pass. See what they do, and then I can like untap and or counterspell something that stops this EE, and then go to my turn and like EE to hopefully clear up all this. So give us something to counterspell. Because they can just get like an Ornithopter or something off this, yeah, to be able to use mana. I will take that. Hiya. Come on, no 0 drop. Nice. Nice. EE on 1. Whew, that felt good. Yes! Oh, I feel a little bit bad for that one. Oh. I'm sorry, OP. That was a little rude of me. Alright, so what do we think of blue-black splash green Murktide? Again, I think like most of the wins just come from being a counterspell Archmage's Charm Murktide deck. And I don't know if Tarmogoyf adds enough to that. Before we had the Tarmogoyf, we had Blood Chief's Thirst. What did we have? Blood Chief's Thirst, 4th Murktide, and 2 Shadow of Mortalities. And Goyf is like okay compared to those, but the mana was really awkward because if you don't see multiple fetch lands, then getting Breeding Pool is pretty much impossible. Because you have to have the blue-black off Watery Grave. And then there were so many times that like I could double spell with black mana, but couldn't with green. So I didn't want to get Breeding Pool. I wanted to get a second Watery Grave. And you don't want to run an Overgrown Tomb, again, for turns where you want Murktide plus Counterspell. If you got Overgrown Tomb, it just throws that out the window. Also doesn't play well with Archmage's Charm. So, just something to keep in mind. Spreading Seas is still good. It might have been a little worse in that league than it's been previously, but mainly because every time we saw Spreading Seas, we also saw like Dress Down. And Dress Down's usually just better for that effect. That was the other thing we were running. We were running Dress Down over Tarmogoyf. And that's probably a little tiny bit better.